Travis Wesley was having the worst day ever. After all, it's not every day that your beautiful wife of 23 years announces that she's going out with other men, starting this evening. Travis sat silently at the kitchen table, his hand wrapped around a glass of monkey shoulder scotch. For 10 minutes, he didn't take a sip of the amber liquid. He just sat there, staring straight ahead, not seeing, not hearing, but definitely feeling a damn pain inside him. Travis knew there wasn't enough Alka-Seltzer in the world to make the pain in his stomach go away. He'd heard stories of other men's wives telling them they were going out with other men, but he'd always thought it was nothing more than an urban legend. How can a woman assume that her loving husband will allow her to date someone else, other men? He simply could not believe that a woman could be so heartless towards her own husband, so openly selfish in her desires. Of course, this happened on Monday, but it was a good day at the company where Travis worked, and he even walked out the door a few minutes after 5 in the evening, whistling a cheerful tune. Walking into the house, he was still feeling quite cheerful when he found his wife sitting at the kitchen table sipping a glass of red wine and a glass and bottle of his favorite whiskey, sitting in front of his usual seat. He dropped his briefcase and poured liquid into 3 fingers, then sat down in a chair. "What kind of mystery, Lauren?" Travis asked, noticing a crooked half-smile on his wife's face. His wife looked him straight in the eyes and grinned need. What he read in her eyes was not good. He shifted nervously in his chair. "Do you think I've been a good wife and mother all these years, Trav?" she asked, completely calmly. Travis furrowed his brow. His wife knew he was a quiet, thoughtful man, and could practically see the wheels turning in his head before he responded. "Yes, I think so. And what? Do you think I should receive some kind of reward for this?" she asked in the same expressionless tone. A few more seconds passed as Travis again carefully considered the question. "Reward for fulfilling the duties of a good wife and mother? Should I be rewarded for being a good husband and father? Why the fuck are you asking me, Lauren?" Travis asked irritably. "Travis, today I want to go on a date with another man," she said, calm as a lake on a perfect morning. Travis was glad to be sitting. He felt bile rise in his body. His thoughts were like a freshly wiped blackboard, completely blank. "Date?" he squeezed out with difficulty. "With another man?" Lauren looked at her husband as if he were a stupid child and nodded slowly. "Yes, with another man, Trav. I haven't been on a date with another man since you and I became exclusive 24 years ago. I have been a good wife to you, a good mother to your children, and I deserve a night with another man, a chance to try someone new, not someone to love, but someone for pleasure. Just sex," she said. "I'm 47 and I can't stay beautiful forever. I want to try more men while I am still a desirable woman and can have them with the snap of my fingers." Travis's lower jaw slowly dropped. He knew that he had understood his wife correctly, but of course she couldn't be serious, could she? He didn't even have to ask the question. Lauren nodded at him, as if reading his thoughts. "Damn," he muttered as she stood up from the table and headed up the stairs to the bedroom to change clothes. Walking downstairs, Lauren looked stunning in a little black dress that practically clung to her gorgeous body. In front, it had a cutout to the middle of a size 3 breast without a bra, and in length, it barely reached the middle of the thigh. The makeup was light. A beautiful woman doesn't need much, and her long blonde hair was pulled back into a high ponytail. The spectacle was amazing. Lauren saw that at this moment, her husband was completely hers. Then, "I won't let this happen, Lauren," Travis said, standing up from the table. "I don't know what you're thinking and what you're doing, but you won't do this while remaining my wife." Lauren's bright smile turned into an ugly grin. "You won't ruin this evening for me, Trav? You can speak harshly, but you know that you will not divorce me because of this. Where will you find a woman like me if you let me leave you? Nowhere, and you know it. And the children will be angry with you for destroying our family. Suck it up, Travis. Let me have fun for a few years, and then it will be just you and me again, and we will grow old together. You know you love me. You don't want to be left alone for the rest of your life, while I have men to choose from." The sound of a car horn sounded, Lauren grabbed a small bag and walked over to Travis, trying to kiss him goodbye. Her husband shuddered as if from a slight shock and pulled away to the side. Lauren looked surprised and hurt for a moment, then her expression turned to anger. "I'll be back home. I don't know when," she said, leaving. He watched in horror as she walked out the door. Could his 23-year marriage be over? It looks like, he thought. Lauren didn't even look back at him as she walked out the door. Scientists have established a sad but true fact. People with good looks have an advantage in life over their more ordinary peers. They make friends more easily, they receive more attention, and teachers are more inclined to give them better grades. In Lauren's case, it worked that way, and only got worse when she turned 13 and her breasts fully developed. She quickly learned that if she batted her eyes and smiled, she could get almost any boy she wanted. And for those boys who were playing hard to get, she simply puffed out her chest a little, and the deal was sealed. Like virtually every boy she came into contact with, Travis fell under Lauren's spell almost from the first time he met her. His family moved to the city the summer just before he entered 8th grade. He met Lauren on the first day of school and was quickly captivated. Travis was a good athlete and was popular with other students. He eventually plucked up the courage to ask Lauren out on a high school date, and she accepted. They became a couple and lasted until the first weeks of their junior year at the local high school, when Lauren dumped the young man in favor of Landon Estes Jr., who was a starter on the school's football team. Travis at that moment had a height of 1.63 meters and a weight of 50 kilograms, while Estes was 1.88 meters and 86 kilograms. Although his feelings were hurt, Travis accepted his fate. He knew Lauren was out of his league in terms of looks. Heck, most of the boys at school weren't in Lauren's league when it came to looks. Because Lauren was dating a football player, she hung out with the popular kids at school. Travis was one of the faceless minions roaming the hallways. He dated and became friends with selected students, but did not communicate with Lauren Somas during his school years. He noted that the few times she came face to face with him, she acted as if he were a complete stranger. The first time it happened, he was angry, but then he learned to accept it. By his senior year, Travis had grown 23 centimeters and gained 18 kilograms. He was a handsome and athletic young man, but he was far from Lauren. Of course, few were like that. He came to the prom with his attractive but not spectacular girlfriend. That evening, they gave each other their virginity. Lauren was the prom queen, and her date was the prom king. They also had sex after graduation, but before this event, she was far from a virgin. Sometimes she was manipulated, sometimes she was manipulated. Sex was always on the menu for any guy lucky enough to date Lauren. After high school, Travis attended Michigan State University to study accounting. During his 4 years of study, he dated several girls, but he did not have serious romances. Lauren attended Central Michigan University and majored in marketing. She dated and slept with a lot of men during her college years, including a marketing professor when she needed to turn a B into an A. After years of being the object of desire, Lauren had become very good at the game. By pure coincidence, they both got jobs in Grand Rapids after graduating from college. About a year after graduating from university, Travis and several of his work colleagues were enjoying a Friday night at a popular bar and restaurant when Lauren walked in with 2 women. All heads immediately turned to look at the striking woman in the short green dress with a low neckline. Lauren barely paid any attention to it because at that moment it was expected and she was used to it. "Who is this goddess?" Steve White croaked to the entire table of colleagues. Without having time to think about his words, Travis reflexively replied, "This, ladies and gentlemen, is Lauren Soames, goddess and your humble servant's 8th grade girlfriend." Every head at the table turned from the woman to Travis, many of them with their mouths open. "Have you met her?" one of them asked incredulously. Travis winced in displeasure. He hated drawing attention to himself, any attention. "I was about 14. As soon as we reached senior high school, I was covered with a copper basin, and she ignored me all 4 years, as if I were the invisible man," he said quietly. "So do you at least have a good story about groping?" One of the women at the table joked. The whole team burst into cheerful laughter. This made Lauren and her friends look at each other. For a moment, she thought she recognized one of the men at the table, but she wasn't sure. The trio sat down at a nearby table, with Lauren sitting facing the table of the man she considered familiar. "Dude, aren't you gonna come over and say hi?" White asked. "Jesus, Steve, you're drooling." "Very unimpressive," said the first interviewee, Casey Gardello. "She pretended not to know me for 4 years." "I don't understand why she would remember me now," Travis said. Several heads nodded in agreement. Lauren continued to study the man, enjoying her food. Then she snapped her fingers and pointed at the man. "It's not good, Lauren," one of her friends said. "If you point at someone in a restaurant, you might get hurt in some places." She completely ignored her friend's remark. "I'll be right back," she announced. "I need to say hello to an old friend." Lauren practically jumped out of her chair and walked over to the table where Travis was sitting. "Trav, hello! Very glad to see you!" Lauren exclaimed, approaching him. Travis rolled his eyes at his friends and then turned to face his former classmate with a fake happy expression. "Lauren!" "It's good to see you," Travis said almost without emotion, rising to his feet. Lauren entered Travis's personal space and kissed him tenderly on the lips, placing her hands on his shoulders. His colleagues sat stunned. Travis, in turn, was also stunned. Lauren realized this and smiled at him with a not entirely innocent smile. She felt very comfortable playing this game, and she knew that he could not do it. "Let's go to our table. I'll introduce you to the girls," she said. She took his hand and practically dragged him with her to her table. He spent most of the evening with Lauren and her 2 friends. Before he left, Lauren took his cell phone, entered her own into it, and wrote down his number for herself. Lauren was more than intrigued that Travis seemed to be indifferent to her. This had never happened to her before. He was polite in the restaurant, but spent as much time talking with her 2 friends as he did with her. During the evening, she kissed him on the lips several times, but he never kissed back. On Monday morning, Travis's work colleagues at the bar confronted him about his relationship with the goddess and were stunned when he told them he stayed at the bar for about an hour before heading home. 1. "She's impressive, but she's 14 levels above me." "I understand," he grumbled. "I don't need such grief." Such distress awaited Travis in the parking lot at his workplace 2 days later when he was leaving work. He grumbled to himself as he saw her waiting for him by the car, although he had to admit that in a dress 1 size too small, she looked like sex on a stick. "Why didn't you call, Trav?" she asked in a quiet voice as he approached her. Travis tried his best not to widen his eyes as he looked Lauren up and down like a hungry man seeing his first meal in weeks. The low-cut top was unbuttoned all the way down to her cleavage, and the hem ended just about 5 centimeters below her crotch. "Damn it," he muttered to himself as she leaned forward to wrap her arms around his neck and press a kiss to his lips. He found himself defenseless as she pressed her body against him and his free hand wrapped around her body, reflexively grabbing her panty-clad buttock as her dress rode up. Her tongue, like a snake, slid into his mouth and attacked him, and he, throwing his briefcase, grabbed her other buttock, and the kiss dragged on indefinitely. After what seemed like minutes, the couple broke the kiss, and Lauren pulled her dress down again to cover her panties. Several of his colleagues, who stopped in shock, quickly got into their cars and drove away. They went to a restaurant located some distance from the city center and ate happily, although Lauren spent most of the lunch tugging at the bottom of her dress. Both Travis and the young waitress seemed to be enjoying her struggle. Travis was wary of Lauren, but he was only a man, and when a scantily clad goddess turns on her charm, he was toast, and the best he could hope for was to perform well in bed that night. "Oh my God," Travis whispered to himself, looking at naked Lauren for the first time. This woman was the goddess Travis had always imagined her to be. If this was going to be his only opportunity to give it his all, he had to be sure that he wouldn't miss his serve because lust would take over his feelings. Having had their fill, They lay face to face and looked into each other's eyes. Lauren smiled lecherously. "Apparently, I screwed up big time a few years ago," she whispered. "You have amazing abilities. Who would have thought? If only I had known. We've lost several years, Trav." Lauren knew what was happening when it was right in front of her. Although Travis wasn't in her league in looks, he was still handsome, fit, and by the looks of it, had a good career ahead of him. He's also very good in bed. I thought she was talking to herself. Despite the fact that Travis had doubts about this woman, mainly related to her self-esteem, their relationship gradually improved. Her beauty is obvious, but he slowly fell in love with who Lauren was. I bought an engagement ring, but before proposing, they sat down and discussed their thoughts on fidelity. She had impressed him so far, but Travis wanted nothing left unsaid between them. "Obviously, I don't know much about your past. I'm not going to ask about numbers or names," Travis said when they sat down at the table for a serious conversation. "What happened in the past will remain in the past. The same goes for me. But I need to know about the future. From now on, I want us to be exclusive. Fully. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't believe you can do this for us, I need to know now. If you can do it, well..." He placed a small black box on the table between them. Lauren looked straight into Travis's eyes, then back at the box. "I will never cheat on my husband. Never." Travis opened the box. "I will never cheat on my husband. Never." Travis remembered these words. Apparently, his wife does not consider this cheating, since she warned him in advance. He knew that wasn't true. She hoped that he would take it that way, because if he didn't accept it. Travis knew that Lauren had had many opportunities to cheat over the years, and as far as he could tell, she had rejected all of them, like a good wife should. She was a 12, and he considered himself a 6 at best. This left plenty of room for someone closer to her physical level to sneak into the house and make a statement. Assuming that she did not have an affair that he did not know about, then she lived for 23 years as a real wife. Travis knew he should be grateful for these years, but he wasn't. When he said, "I love you," he wanted it to be forever, and not a measly 23 years. In fact, not a week went by without Lauren receiving proposals from someone, not just men. She knew that she was not just beautiful. She is amazing, a rare goddess among simply beautiful women. When God created his wife, he had an exceptional day, Travis always said. At first, Lauren told Travis about it every time she was picked on, trying to be completely transparent. However, after a few years, Travis said that he trusted her enough that she didn't need to tell him everything. The only time he would want to know that she was being pestered is if the pester did not accept her first refusal. Then he will take the necessary steps to send the offender away. Travis, on the other hand, was rarely approached by women. This was partly due to the fact that he used his wedding ring almost as a shield. Within minutes of meeting the woman, Travis spoke in glowing terms about his wife and children, which usually extinguished any sparks that might have flared. He didn't even realize what he was doing, and most women shut down before they even had a chance to flirt. Lauren had no idea that her husband was turning off potential flirts, or worse. The almost fairy tale marriage lasted 22 years before Rosa Esposito entered the proverbial Garden of Eden, or rather, came to work at the same public relations firm as Lauren. In the words of a Bob Seger song, she was a dark-haired beauty with big brown eyes and big breasts. Men were attracted like a strong magnet attracts metal. In any other office, she would have been an alpha female, but at Superior Solutions, she became, at best, a faithful assistant to the sexiest woman on the planet. 42-year-old Rose had been married for 15 years, but, according to her own words, she was not a fan of it. She had several affairs with her husband's knowledge and several more without his knowledge, and she often shared stories of her adventures with Lauren. She was a very good storyteller, and in her stories, sex with most of her lovers seemed fantastic. "So you haven't tried anyone since you got married? You're just a rock woman, but I don't believe that you don't want this," Rose said one day at work during a coffee break. "Well, I'm not saying I'm not curious, but I would never cheat on Travis," Lauren said. In recent months, Lauren has noticed that she doesn't feel like she gets as much attention from men in bars and restaurants as she used to. More than once, she noticed that the looks that were previously directed at her were received by younger women and began to doubt her abilities to visually attract. Let's play the what-if game. What if hubby lets you try? What then? Asked Rose. Lauren's face showed that she had never thought about such a scenario before. The wheels in her head were spinning madly. I guess if I had permission, then it would be a completely different story, Lauren admitted with a mischievous grin. Have you ever thought about asking permission? Asked Rose. You know that everything worth having is worth asking. Lauren had never thought about this before. Her face lit up, then went dark. He will never give me permission. Never, Lauren said. Should I do everything for you? Asked Rose. Unspoken permission. Tell him, and then take what you want, regardless of his answer. Tell him that he loves you enough to let you do this. That you can get through this because it has nothing to do with love. That you love only him. Travis was awakened by the sound of a car approaching the house. Looking at his watch, he realized that it was a little after 3 o'clock in the morning. A glance at the bottle of Woodford Reserve showed that he had finished about half of it. Great evening, huh? He quipped to Lauren as she walked through the front door. Travis looked closely at the cliché his wife had become. Her hair was combed but tousled. Her makeup was missing. Her clothes looked rumpled. She didn't look remorseful, but smug. I could say the same to you, she hissed. You didn't have to wait, you know. I am going to sleep. And you? Maybe. But never again in this life with you. He snapped back. Lauren gave him a look of disgust and headed up the stairs. Travis poured 3 more fingers of bourbon into his glass and went back to watching ESPN. Travis spent the night in his folding chair, half sitting, half lying, his stomach grumbling. Around 9, he finally got up from his chair and made himself breakfast. While eating, I heard the shower turn on in the master bathroom. Under normal circumstances, Travis might have expected his wife to come downstairs in a robe and with her hair wrapped in a towel. This morning, she didn't come down for about an hour, and when she came down, her hair was dried. She was dressed and made up, looking impeccable as always. He expected nothing less. Did you happen to leave me something to eat? She asked. I made a big pot of coffee, but cooked the food yourself. And since you're dressed at home, I think now is the time to talk, he said categorically. Lauren was surprised by how emotionless Travis seemed. She expected him to simply foam at the mouth and be irrational, which would make him easier to manipulate. Rational Travis will make the conversation much more difficult, she reasoned to herself. Don't you want to know about last night? She said quietly. Travis detected a note of superiority in her tone. Does she really believe he wants to know about how he was cuckolded? Hardly. I want to know how you see our marriage moving forward, Travis said, his voice sounding no louder than hers. As I said yesterday, I intend to try several other men over the course of several years. Only sex, no love. I only love you, but I want to try a few more men while I still have the looks and the body. I gave everything to you for 23 years, and I never had a thought about betrayal. I want the thrill of something unfamiliar. You're wonderful in bed, but I want some variety. Well, you know, have some other experience for a while, and then you and I will go off into the sunset together, and I will be grateful to you for this experience, and will spoil you exclusively for the rest of our days, Lauren said. Travis listened intently as Lauren spoke while preparing toast and jam for his coffee. He thought the way she buttered her toast while talking about the most important things in his life was rather dispassionate. He had so many questions. Is it all because you want variety? Am I not enough for you? He asked creakingly. She started to answer, but he interrupted her. So you want to live in an open marriage for a few years and then return to monogamy again sometime in the future? Does this mean I can date others too? Lauren tried unsuccessfully to suppress her giggles. The idea of her sweet, quiet husband asking another woman out on a date was simply laughable. Travis was the most serious about marriage of any man she had ever met. However, if this is what it takes for him to agree. In principle, yes, she answered. Of course, I assume that for you it will also be just sex. Travis raised his eyebrows and shrugged. Lauren had no idea what this movement meant. However, she had an idea. So, would you like to go on a date with Rose? You know, a very nice woman from my office. I'm sure she'll be happy to agree, Lauren said, knowing that her friend would have no problem having sex with her husband, especially if it meant helping Lauren achieve her goal of having sex with other men and still being married. Travis looked puzzled. The lustful 21-year-old bachelor in him wanted to get Rose. The responsible 47-year-old married guy knew that he could not do this. I would be glad to have a date with Rose, but no, baby, thank you. That will make me as much of a traitor as you were last night, he said. Lauren's face, which had started to smile, suddenly turned into a grimace of anger. I am not a traitor, she screamed. Well, if you insist, baby, he said much more seriously than she could have expected. But I still don't agree to it. Well, come to your senses, baby, because I will do this even if you don't, she snorted. On Monday morning, at about 11 o'clock, Rose came into Lauren's office and saw that she did not look happy. To hell with this bigot and the horse he came on, Lauren hissed, closing the office door behind Rose. Damn it, he even refused to date you. Rose frowned. I didn't know I was on the menu, but to hell with it. How could he refuse this? She said, stroking her body with her hands. How about a date? Did you have a good time or did Travis ruin everything? Asked Rose. The date was fantastic. Jonas definitely knows how to make a woman feel good, Lauren enthused. God, it's been so long since I felt another man. I definitely like the difference. Who do you think I should try next? They both laughed heartily. Lauren was encouraged by the fact that she was not immediately served with divorce papers. Since she and her husband had virtually no contact, she decided it would be wiser not to ask about his plans at all. Although he didn't tell his wife, Travis really didn't want to rush into a divorce. I hoped that she would quickly come to her senses and abandon her stupid plans to cuckold him. He believed that he could forgive her and they could forget about her misdeed if she stopped this nonsense. His hopes were boosted when Lauren didn't go on a date the following week, although he still didn't return to the bedroom and they still weren't communicating positively. However, the following Friday evening, Lauren was again dressed to the highest standards, apparently ready for a date. Are you seriously planning to do this again? With the same guy, or want to use someone else this week? Travis asked sharply. Damn, Trav, didn't you hear a word I said? It's not about you. It's about me and my desire to get something before I get too old to attract anyone. It's not that I want you less, I just want more and different. You know, people constantly pester me. I just want to enjoy it. I will always come back to you. What if I don't want you to come back to me? I won't share with you. I won't sit idly by while you have fun. I'm not made for this. I won't wait until you try half the male population of our city. When you had your first date, I wasn't sure yet, but I think I could survive it. Once it could be extreme stupidity, but twice it is extreme disrespect, extreme betrayal. Stay outside all night. Party all night. We're done. This is not why I was created on this earth. Wah, 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 she said, making speaking movements with the fingers of her right hand. You don't want to lose me. It doesn't have to be an either-or situation. Last week, Travis instructed his lawyer to prepare all the necessary documents, hoping that they would not be necessary. He planned to call his wife on Monday morning, but first he needed to call his two daughters and tell them about it. Neither 21-year-old Jackie nor 19-year-old Michelle believed their father when he called them that evening, at least outwardly. But after talking with both, he discovered that his eldest daughter may not have just guessed that something was wrong. So, you knew she was going to create this nightmare and you didn't tell me? He shouted over the phone. You don't think I deserve to know what is going to happen? Please, Daddy. I found myself in a very difficult situation. One of you would not be happy with me one way or another, no matter what I did. Besides, it's her body. It doesn't belong to you. And if she wants to share it... Stop! Do not continue! Travis shouted. "I understand that she put you between us, but don't tell me that she can do whatever she wants, whenever she wants, because this body is hers. We, Dolly, vows. The oath abolishes speech about her body." "I understand, but," she muttered briefly, and then fell silent. "Damn, baby." "I'm sorry, Daddy," she whispered. When Lauren walked through the door at 2 in the morning, Travis was nowhere to be seen. Even though she arrived an hour earlier than her previous date, she looked a little more shabby. Gabriel Esposito was a large, strong man with great physical strength, perhaps the strongest Lauren had ever encountered in bed. By the end of the evening, she could hardly move. She knew that by tomorrow, she would most likely have a couple of bruises from his grip. Overall, it was a great night, she thought. She could enjoy Gabriel another time. Lauren was shocked and embarrassed when she was handed divorce papers at her office on Monday morning. She burst into tears and ran to the ladies' room. A few minutes later, hearing the noise, Rose appeared. "You should have known that he would at least give you the documents," Rose said. "You really hurt him, baby.